Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This week we're doing something a little bit different. We're going on a cruise. I am so excited. I've been on a bunch of cruises growing up, so this is nothing new to me, but I haven't been on one for about 6 years. So I'm super excited to go on another one with my husband and my family. We leave out of Galveston, Texas today, and we are going on Royal Caribbean Liberty of the Sea. I know it's a little different from my normal infertility videos, but hopefully you'll enjoy this as much as I will, because I'm glad to be on a little break before we start our IVF. So thanks for following along, and boy, oh boy, yesterday was quite a day. Let's get into it. So yesterday was our first day on Liberty of the Seas. I only filmed that little montage because what a mess it was. So this cruise vacation was a gift from my grandparents for back in 2020, but because of COVID, of course, it got canceled. It was finally rebooked for this summer, July 2022. Everyone was so excited, but they have the new requirements because of COVID that you must be vaccinated if you are 18 and older. Me and my husband are not vaccinated, so because we are not vaccinated, I knew it would be almost impossible to come on this trip, and we were really bummed when it was rescheduled and they weren't lifting any mandates. I ended up reaching out to the cruise line just to ask and see if there was any way we would be able to come. It took the cruise line over a month to reply. I'm really glad that I asked. It doesn't hurt to ask, right? They ended up replying saying that there was a loophole. We had to send in a vaccine accommodation to a specific email that they don't advertise anywhere. So I got the email and I sent my request. There was a whole list of things to do to include in our email, and I got a reply saying that they are reviewing our accommodation, but they won't let you know if it's approved or denied until 10 to 14 days prior to sailing. So that was a little stressful because I didn't want to buy excursions and all these things and pack or buy things for the trip until I knew. Right on the dot, 2 weeks before we sailed, I got the email that we were approved. Of course, we had to do the 2 days prior to sailing COVID test. Ended up doing the NAT rapid COVID test because that is counted as a PCR test with Royal Caribbean, and we got our results back in the same day. We of course were negative, thankfully, and then I was told when we were checking in for the cruise after security, they would take us aside and do a rapid antigen test in the terminal before we got on the ship. All children under 12 have to get this rapid test before they get on as well, so they're fully set up for it, they're fully prepared. So yesterday comes and we make our 3.5-hour drive to Galveston. We did buy the key, so we did get priority boarding. We got through security fine, didn't have to show any documents but your passport and sailing pass. We stepped aside and went and asked someone, hey, we are unvaccinated. We got the vaccine accommodation approval by the company. We were told we had to test in the terminal. Can you point us to that direction? And this lady was a little confused. We were pulled aside, walked over to where the kids were getting tested. She said, hey, do these people need to test here? They were told they have to test in terminal. They got an accommodation, they're not vaccinated. They do have their PCR test. Is that enough or do they need to test? that lady also didn't know what we needed to do. So she walked us over to a supervisor. I told her that we were told we had to get tested in terminal before we get on. We're happy to do so. I just don't know where that's at. She looked at our paperwork and said, no, this is good enough. You're good to go with this. So we didn't know better. We ended up checking in just fine with our negative PCR results and our signed approval that we were approved to come on with no vaccine, and we were sent on up to the ship. We went to our lunch because we did get the key, so we had a private lunch in the main dining room. We did our muster station, we found our room, and then they called their name on the speaker to come down to guest services. We went down to guest services and the lady came up to us and she had her radio and her phone and a printout of our faces, like what we look like. And she said, you're flagged. We need you to go get tested. You were supposed to test before you got on board. I said, I thought so. I even asked 3 separate people, 2 workers and a supervisor, if we were supposed to test or not, and everyone let us on board. So I told her I was confused, but went along with it because 3 separate people let us go on in. And so she said, okay, that's weird. She was typing something on her phone. She was saying something over the radio. She said, okay, follow me. And she took us on the elevator. They took us off the ship after we were already on board. All our carry-on stuff was in our room. We only had our wallets and set sail pass because we dropped everything off. They took us off at 3:28 and we were set to sail at 4 p.m. So she walked us off the ship and up to head of security or some higher up guy, and he was like, you guys need to be tested, follow me. We went back into the terminal, back to the lab, which no one was at because everyone was on board, and the lab was closing up for the day. We got swabbed, and then we got walked to the waiting area, and we sat and waited and waited. They were really, really nice and made it a smooth process. She got the radio call that we were negative and we were brought back onto the ship. And we ended up sailing like 10-15 minutes later. It was definitely nerve-wracking. I've never gotten kicked off of a cruise ship, never boarded twice in the same day on a cruise ship. So it was definitely one for the book. So glad we made it on. Bumpy or not, we made it on. We are here with my family and we're having a blast. We made it to Cozumel today on day 3, and here we are. We are in the port about to get on our bus to go to Chakanab Beach. day, but we did not get off the ship, so we are on the ship today.